Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a fascinating piece of history that shaped the world as we know it. We're talking about money, but not just any money. We're on a quest to find the world's very first global currency. Now, when you think of a global currency, what comes to mind? Maybe the US dollar, the euro, or perhaps even cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. These are all powerful players in today's financial world. But the idea of a single currency dominating international trade is not new. In fact, it goes back centuries, long before the United States even existed. To find our answer, we have to travel back in time. Let's set our time machine for the 16th century, a period known as the Age of Discovery. European powers were expanding their empires, new trade routes were being forged across the oceans, and the world was becoming more interconnected than ever before. This explosion of global trade created a huge problem. How do you pay for things? Imagine you're a merchant in Amsterdam. You want to buy spices from Indonesia, silk from China, and tea from India. Your Dutch guilders might not be accepted in Asia. The Chinese merchant wants silver, the Indian trader wants gold, and the Indonesian supplier has his own preferred form of payment. It was a logistical nightmare. Every transaction required complex currency conversions, and you were always at risk of being shortchanged or dealing with counterfeit coins. There was a desperate need for a standardized, trusted, and universally accepted form of money. And into this chaotic world stepped a hero. Not a person, but a coin. A silver coin that would go on to dominate global trade for over 300 years. I'm talking about the Spanish dollar, also known as the piece of 8. So, what made this particular coin so special? Why did it become the world's first truly global currency? The story begins in the massive silver mines of the Spanish Empire in the Americas, particularly in places like Potosi in modern-day Bolivia and Zacatecas in Mexico. The Spanish had hit the jackpot. They discovered mountains of silver, more than the world had ever seen. Using advanced mining techniques for the time, they began extracting and minting this silver on an industrial scale. The Spanish created a coin with a remarkably consistent standard. The piece of 8, or the 8 reales coin, was minted to a specific weight and purity, around 27 grams of over 90% pure silver. This consistency was key. Merchants everywhere, from Manila to Madrid, from Boston to Beijing, knew that a Spanish dollar was a Spanish dollar. They could trust its value. The design of the coin also played a crucial role in its global acceptance. On one side, it featured the Pillars of Hercules, the two promontories flanking the entrance to the Strait of Gibraltar. Wrapped around the pillars was a banner that read Plus Ultra, which means further beyond in Latin. This was a powerful symbol of Spain's global ambition, a declaration that they had sailed beyond the known world. This iconic design became instantly recognizable. In fact, some historians believe that the two pillars with the winding banner are the origin of the modern dollar sign we use today. Think about it. Two vertical lines with an S shape wrapped around them. It's a direct descendant of the piece of 8. The Spanish dollar's journey around the world was incredible. Spanish galleons, laden with treasure, would sail from the Americas across the Pacific to Manila in the Philippines, which was a Spanish colony. In Manila, the silver was traded for Chinese silk, porcelain, and other luxury goods. This created a direct trade link between the Americas and Asia, all financed by the piece of 8. From China, the silver flowed along the Silk Road and maritime routes to India, the Ottoman Empire, and eventually back to Europe. The coin literally circled the globe. It became the de facto currency in many parts of the world. In China, during the Ming and Qing dynasties, the demand for silver was immense. The piece of 8 became so common that local authorities would often stamp them with Chinese characters, called chop marks, to verify their authenticity. These marked coins tell a story of their journey, passing through the hands of countless merchants, even in North America, long before the United States was founded. The Spanish dollar was the primary coin in circulation in the British colonies. When the US finally created its own currency, it based the American dollar directly on the Spanish dollar. The Coinage Act of 1792 defined the US dollar as having the same silver content as a Spanish milled dollar. For decades, Spanish dollars remained legal tender in the United States, circulating right alongside American coins. That's how influential it was. So, why did its reign end? Like all empires, the Spanish Empire eventually declined. Wars, revolutions, and economic troubles took their toll. The silver mines in the Americas became less productive, and new nations like Mexico began minting their own coins after gaining independence. At the same time, another global power was on the rise: Great Britain. By the 19th century, the Industrial Revolution had transformed Britain into the world's foremost economic and military power. The British Empire was expanding, and with it, the influence of its currency, the pound sterling. Britain championed the gold standard, linking the value of the pound directly to a fixed amount of gold. As more countries adopted the gold standard, the global financial system shifted away from silver. The pound sterling, backed by the industrial might of Britain and the stability of the gold standard, gradually replaced the Spanish dollar as the world's leading reserve currency. The piece of 8 slowly faded from the world stage, but its legacy is undeniable. It was the financial backbone of the first era of globalization. It connected continents, funded empires, and standardized trade in a way that had never been done before. It set the precedent for what a global currency could be, paving the way for the British pound and, later, the US dollar. Think about the journey of just one of these coins. Minted in the mountains of Bolivia, it could have been used by a pirate in the Caribbean, a merchant in the Philippines, a colonial farmer in Virginia, and a shopkeeper in London. These coins are tiny time capsules, physical links to a past where the world was shrinking and a single piece of silver could open up a world of possibilities. The story of the piece of 8 teaches us that a global currency needs more than just a powerful government behind it. It needs trust, consistency, and widespread availability. It's a fascinating lesson in economics, history, and human ingenuity. The next time you see a dollar sign, remember the Spanish galleons, the silver mountains of the Andes, and the 2 pillars that symbolized a world ready to go further beyond. So, there you have it. The incredible story of the world's first global currency, the Spanish piece of 8. It's a reminder that the systems we take for granted today have deep and fascinating roots in the past. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey back in time, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history. Let me know in the comments what other historical topics you'd like to explore. Until next time, stay curious.